When you woke up this morning, you may have realized a lot of things that you're used to seeing working weren't. That's because of another big outage. We're talking about Cloudflare, that, and that's a name you may not have heard of, but it does power a lot of things that you have heard of, things like X, the social media platform, ChatGPT, a number of other things that rely on this internet infrastructure provider, essentially. So Cloudflare been working to fix that issue, but just another example of the impact that these outages can have. And so joining us live now to talk about this is Matt Rose, the CXO of TechRage IT in Winter Springs. And Matt, good talking with you. Unfortunately, it seems like we've been talking with you a lot about these outages, but they really do just have huge impacts when something like this happens.
Yeah, they really do. It proves every day, as much as we're reliant upon the internet, how much it's really hard to not be somewhat funneled through a few very large services out there.
Yeah.
So just proves that.
Yeah, which is problematic in a lot of ways, as we
Mhm.
see yet again this morning. Because talk to us about what happened and some of what the impact has been.
Yeah, so I don't think they've really come out and said exactly what happened just yet, or at least, a full report yet. I know in the previous, like with the Azure and the AWS stuff, there was stuff with DNS we talked about. I think this so far they saw that this morning there was a large amount of traffic that came through, which could mean it was what's called a denial of service attack or some other attack they got hit with. And that's kind of meant like a lot of people hitting the website or hitting their servers at the same time. Regardless of what happened, basically they went completely down. And it seems like it was global. It seems like there were some people around the world who may have had some good luck, but it's a service that is different from the Azure or AWS of the world, where you might have an actual website or app or something that's running there. Cloudflare kind of sits between your website and the internet. And the people accessing it. It's meant to be there, funny enough, to prevent some attacks, these denial of service attacks where someone's hitting your website, tons of times with bots. This is even before the AI version of bots. And it kind of helps to make sure that traffic still gets to the site and you're not affected by those things. It also can help make things faster. A lot of people swear by Cloudflare because they're actually going to keep your data or copies of your website and whatnot in different parts of the world. So if you're here in Florida versus Germany or something of that nature, you can still access websites pretty quickly. And it also sometimes allows for temporary outages to not be seen. So it's a really great service when it works, but when it went down, it didn't actually mean that sites like X were actually down. It meant that Cloudflare couldn't get to it, so therefore you couldn't get to it.
Interesting. Because of the reliance on something like this, we know some of those big names that were impacted by it, by things that you may start scrolling as soon as you get out of bed in the morning. But there were probably a lot of other impacts that we don't fully know yet because of the reliance on this.
Yeah, well, a funny one that was kind of over LinkedIn and places that I look at from an IT and security standpoint is there's a website called Down Detector that is it's a simple website that people can go on there and report something's down. It was down, so Down Detector was down because they relied on Cloudflare. I know internally at our company, our CRM was down, so we couldn't access that for a bit. So I mean, just minor things, but again, it's pretty common. I mean, Cloudflare is something that a lot of just even basic websites or basic companies will utilize. It's not terribly expensive, and it's just known to be a really solid product and thing out there. So, I mean, I think, yeah, we noticed these huge companies, but huge things out there. But I would bet you, as a small business or just random little apps and websites, probably were affected this morning.
And so, what can you do in that situation? Is there anything on your end that you can do in that situation to try to get? Because you said that your site technically is not down.
Yeah.
Is there anything that can be done in the meantime?
So and I think it's funny, I was actually having a conversation internally with an employee who was trying to reach our CRM. And I think the idea is it's in the same idea that if internet or power goes down in your office and you're in that question of, do I send people home or not kind of thing, hoping it's going to come back up. And I would imagine all these companies, they could have rerouted their traffic away from Cloudflare, but then that's still going to take time. That's not going to be instant for the world. It may have other ill effects. And I think if we had heard from Cloudflare, like, hey, we're not going to be able to resolve this today or something of that nature, I think you would have routed traffic away from it. And so I think there was that. It's possible some people did that right off the bat, but I think that's the struggle is you can stop using the service But even that, again, is not something where you're flipping a light switch that it works perfectly for everybody.
And so, what's the bottom line here? What do we learn from something like this?
Um, Same lesson we've kind of always had from even just the past few attacks like this, or not attacks per se, but things like this, is that as much as we're super reliant on all these internet and cloud-based services, we want to keep using them. I don't know if there's an easy answer. You could potentially spend a ton of money and have redundant services, as we talked about during the AWS or the Azure downtimes. You can have multiples, but most people don't have the money for that. I think at this point we need to see what Cloudflare is going to say, and it may just be that you need to have a recovery option that involves saying, okay, this is down. If it's Cloudflare, we're going to flip this switch. It may have at least had you back up in minutes instead of hours. But I think it goes back to having a disaster recovery and business continuity plan, really more than anything.
Yeah, and we're seeing the importance of that borne out. It seems like weekly.
Yeah, yeah, we really are.
Matt Rose, CXO of TechRage IT in Winter Springs. Always good talking with you. We appreciate you helping make sense of all of these things that are happening. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks again.